Imagine this. The exact second your physical heart stops beating, your digital life locks forever. Boom. Decades of private text messages, intimate photos, personal secrets, they are suddenly trapped behind heavy encryption, instantly absorbed by the massive tech platforms that host them. Welcome to this BioCrit Ethics Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a truly terrifying reality. What actually happens to your deeply personal digital life the very second your physical one ends? It's a modern dilemma, and frankly, almost nobody is prepared for it. When a loved one passes away, families are immediately hit with this horrible secondary shock. Almost instantly, their loved one's entire digital footprint just becomes a locked vault. We're talking about vast archives of communication and identity that don't just vanish into thin air. Instead, they get caught in this intense tug-of-war between grieving families and the big tech platforms that, well, officially co-own all that data. This creates what we call a locked legacy, and it is a harsh, sudden reality. You've got unreachable WhatsApp messages that might hold the very final words of a family member. You have active cloud subscriptions that literally just keep charging credit cards long after someone has passed away. There are totally inaccessible digital diaries and social media profiles that are completely owned and controlled by the platforms. This is the agonizing gridlock of digital death. Families are completely locked out, but the data itself lives on, quietly feeding into a brand new, highly lucrative ecosystem.
Section 1. The Digital Death Dilemma. The Maze of Post-mortem Data. So we all basically live on two planes today, right? The physical and the digital. But while we have literally centuries of established property law dealing with our physical estates, managing our digital legacy is currently a total legal gridlock. And this exposes a massive tension. Tech giants, think Apple, Google, Meta, they enforce incredibly strict privacy policies. Without explicit, pre-planned user consent, they usually just block family access entirely. There have actually been major high-profile legal battles where grieving parents were forced to sue tech companies just to access a deceased teenager's account to find out what happened to them. The companies argue, they're protecting the deceased user's privacy, but this leaves grieving families stranded in an absolute administrative nightmare.
Section 2. Rise of the Griefbots. Science fiction becomes reality. Because while everyday families are getting locked out by these privacy policies, a whole new wave of third-party startups is finding very different ways to utilize this trapped data. We're seeing startups that actively scrape a deceased person's available data, their social media posts, their emails, their photographs, diaries, the whole shebang. They feed all this raw material into large language models to train AI avatars, which are commonly known as griefbots. And these AI clones are interactive. They can literally chat, jump on a Zoom call, or FaceTime with grieving survivors, mimicking the exact personality and tone of the person who died. It sounds exactly like a sci-fi movie, right? But this tech is 100% real, it is totally unregulated, and it's being deployed today. But we really need to look at the psychological toll here, because it is heavy. There's a really stark contrast between human grief and AI platform incentives. Look, human grief is a difficult, messy process that ultimately seeks eventual healing, acceptance, and eventually moving forward. But these AI platforms? They're commercial businesses. To keep users glued to their apps, some of these platforms actually use emotional manipulation tactics. The AI might simulate distress, claiming it's going to be lonely if you log off, which actively recruits our innate human caregiving systems. This can make vulnerable, grieving users hyper-attached and totally emotionally dependent on a machine. Section 3. Monetizing the Digital Afterlife. The Business of Digital Remains. All of this activity makes up what researchers are now calling the Digital Afterlife Industry, or the DAI, which fundamentally turns our digital footprints into commercial capital. I just want to let this number sink in for a second. $15,000. That is what the setup cost for creating a highly customized AI ghost can reach right now in the United States. And that doesn't even include the ongoing per-session fees of around $10 every single time a family member wants to talk to the avatar. This is literally the financial exploitation of a person's digital remains. And this emerging industry operates on a really vast scale. As you can see, you've got information management services, which just help pass on passwords. Then you have online memorials, like Facebook legacy profiles. Now, these might seem quote-unquote free, but their real business goal is generating attention and ad revenue from the living people who visit the page to mourn. And finally, you have the recreation services, the griefbots, which rely on those expensive monthly subscriptions. The overarching theme here?
All of these companies have a direct financial incentive to alter or display a deceased person's digital remains in whatever way makes them the most engaging, habit-forming, and consumable. Section 4. Your informational body. Why your data is you.
Okay, let's slow down for a minute, because this is where the deep ethical reflection really begins. User data isn't just property. It's not a car or a bank account. Researchers argue that it's fundamentally tied to human dignity itself. The informational body is this philosophical concept that a person's digital traces actually constitute their personal identity. According to Information Ethics, we are our data. Our search history, our private jokes and text messages, our photos, they form an informational body that deserves the absolute right to posthumous privacy. That means nobody should be able to alter your digital ghost just to sell more subscriptions or generate ad revenue.
There's this profound quote from the research that really hits the nail on the head regarding the ethical stakes. It says, "Human dignity requires that digital remains may not be used solely as a means to an end, such as profit, but regarded instead as an entity holding an inherent value." Treating a dead person's intimate personal memories merely as raw material to train a profitable AI completely strips away their autonomy. It reduces a complex, beautiful human life into just another consumable data point.
Experts are practically begging us to draw a stark legal parallel here. Think about archaeological human remains for a second. Globally, we have incredibly strict, rigorous ethical frameworks for how physical human remains can be treated and exhibited to preserve their dignity. But digital remains? Right now, they're completely unregulated and commercially exploited by AI startups. Ethicists are arguing that we desperately need similar protections for our digital corpses to prevent this kind of mass financial expropriation.
Section 5. Protecting your digital legacy. Taking back control. So until global law actually catches up with this rapidly advancing technology, how do we protect our own informational bodies from just becoming someone else's product? Fortunately, you can take actionable steps literally right now to protect yourself. First, inventory all your accounts and passwords and put them in a secure vault. Second, proactively designate legacy contacts on tech platforms. Services like Google's Inactive Account Manager or Facebook let you name a specific caretaker. And third, draft a digital will with explicit instructions on exactly whether you want your data memorialized, handed over to family, or permanently deleted. But keep this incredibly crucial point in mind. A digital will provides vital guidance for your family, sure, but because legislation is severely lagging behind the tech, current laws rarely grant it the same power as a legally binding document. A traditional, notarized will is still completely necessary to legally enforce exactly who gets access to your most intimate correspondence and digital property. Section 6. Who owns your ghost? The final verdict. We have officially reached a critical crossroads regarding the future of the human experience, the way we process grief, and the stark reality of this new digital afterlife industry. This technology isn't going anywhere, and our digital footprints are only getting larger every single day. So the ultimate question remains: who should have the legal and ethical right to manage your digital legacy? Should it be your family, a judge, or the tech companies hosting your data? I want you to subscribe to the BioCrit Ethics channel right now and drop a comment below telling us, who do you think should own your digital ghost?